The morning frost was so thick it looked like powdered glass on the greenhouse walls. I remember tracing my finger down the pane and feeling the thin layer melt instantly under my skin. Yet inside, the air was warm, almost tropical, and basil leaves the size of my hand were curling toward the light. The crazy part? Just 10 feet away, in a different shaped greenhouse, the same basil plant was nearly frozen solid. That's when I realized, not all greenhouses are equal. The shape itself, the curve, the angle, the dome, decides how much heat it traps. So I built four different designs across one winter: a traditional A-frame, a Gothic arch, a geodesic dome, and a low, half-buried earth shelter. I logged every temperature rise, every frost, every wilted seedling. And one shape defied everything I'd been taught. Stay with me, because what I found about how a simple curve interacts with the sun will change the way you think about growing food forever. They tell you heating a greenhouse is all about equipment: propane, radiant tubing, electric blowers. All expensive. All dependent on the same fragile system that's breaking us. But here's what no one in the agricultural supply catalogs will tell you. Nature already provided a perfect heating formula, and it doesn't burn a single drop of fuel. We've built a food system addicted to inputs: chemical fertilizer, imported phosphorus, artificial light. Every year, the costs rise, while the nutritional value of our food quietly falls. You feel it when you bite into a tomato that tastes more like water than sunlight. You taste it in lettuce that withers after 2 days in the fridge. Meanwhile, the biggest companies, the Monsantos, the agro-conglomerates, keep selling us the illusion that the only way to grow food productively is to buy their next system. But think of this. In northern Russia, ancient farmers kept citrus trees alive under glass domes through winters that dropped below -20 degrees Celsius, using no electricity. They understood something we forgot, that the shape of your shelter is a living machine. It breathes light, it traps air, it directs moisture. When I first heard about these forgotten domes, called orangery conservatories by 18th century Europeans but rooted in Persian and Russian design, I thought it was legend. Some claimed entire grape harvests survived through snowfall thicker than walls. Others spoke of monastery gardens where vines crept across glass roofs, even as the outer world slept under ice. It sounded impossible until I saw blueprints from 1795 in a small agricultural archive in Arkhangelsk. The sketches showed perfect geometry: circular foundations, triangular support webs, and curved glazing designed to mimic the sun's arc. And modern engineers have since confirmed that geometry works like a magnifying lens for heat. So I decided to test it myself, not in theory, on real soil. I built 4 miniature greenhouses behind my workshop, each about the size of a small car. Every shape had the same volume, same glazing material, same soil bed, and planted the same crop mix: lettuce, basil, kale, and cherry tomatoes. The A-frame looked like a simple tent: steep roof angles, easy to build. The Gothic arch was elegant, rounded top tapering toward the sides, perfect for shedding snow. The geodesic dome, pure Buckminster Fuller, all interconnected triangles forming a perfect sphere of strength. And the earth shelter, half buried, with a south-facing glass roof, like a window opening out of the ground itself. Each one held a small temperature logger inside. Every dawn and dusk I recorded internal air and soil temperatures. Within 2 days, differences emerged, and by day 7 I couldn't ignore them. The A-frame lost heat the fastest. At night it dropped almost as quickly as the outside temperature, within 3 degrees Celsius of the frost line. The Gothic arch held slightly better. Its rounded ceiling trapped a bubble of warm air that lingered until dawn. But the geodesic dome, this was something else entirely. During one of the coldest nights, -8 outside, the dome interior never dipped below +2. Meanwhile, the Earth shelter clocked an even steadier line. It barely fluctuated, hovering between 4 and 6 degrees above freezing all night. Naturally insulated by soil, it acted like a thermal battery, absorbing warmth by day, releasing it through the cold hours. But here's where it got weird. Midday, under bright but cold sunlight, the dome hit 28 degrees Celsius inside, almost tropical. The others ranged from 18 to 22. The curve of the geodesic surface concentrated sunlight, not just directly, but through internal reflections. Every small triangle of glass channeled light onto another surface, multiplying radiance like a kaleidoscope. That realization sent me down a rabbit hole. Why does geometry wield such power over temperature? It's not magic, it's physics. First, consider how air moves. Warm air rises, cool air sinks. Flat ceilings let the warm layer escape fast and stay unmixed. But curved ceilings, like domes or arches, coax air to circulate instead of escaping. You get a thermal swirl effect, constantly moving pockets of heat down toward your plants instead of letting them drift away. Second, reflectivity. Sunlight strikes glass at different angles during the day. In flat surfaces, much of it bounces off unused. In a dome, nearly every ray meets some piece of glass at just the right angle to enter. Statistically, nearly 40% more light gets transmitted through multi-angle geometry compared to flat panels. That light equals heat. And here's the twist most people miss. Even the ground shape matters. A half-buried pit greenhouse traps radiant heat from soil, and because Earth, 6 feet below surface, stays around 10 to 12 degrees Celsius year-round, you're connecting your crops to a natural heater that never turns off. For thousands of years, farmers in places like northern China's Shaanxi province built something almost identical. Sunken greenhouses, known as Dixiashi Wenbao. Archaeologists dated them back over 1,400 years. They dug beds into slopes facing south, added straw insulation to rear walls, and covered the front with animal skin panels or later glass. Even with blizzards outside, vegetables thrived. Spinach, onions, Chinese cabbage. Modern studies by China Agricultural University found those traditional designs could maintain night temperatures 7 to 10 degrees Celsius, warmer than outside air. No heating fuel at all. That's why entire provinces now rely on that principle to produce winter vegetables commercially. So when people think heat trapping, they think heaters and fans. But ancient builders understood geometry and mass are your heating system. It's fascinating how forgotten these insights became. Industrial agriculture replaced craftsmanship with standardization. Every greenhouse started looking like a warehouse, rectangular, metallic, lifeless. Engineers optimized for cost, not for microclimate. And in doing so, they erased a body of knowledge craftsmen had refined for centuries. I came across letters by a 19th century French botanist, Charles Lucien Bonaparte, nephew of Napoleon, who kept tropical palms alive in Parisian winters, using only shape and thermal mass. His secret? Brick-lined walls storing daytime heat under glass arches. It worked because radiant energy doesn't care about brand names. It obeys geometry and materials. And modern validation backs this. A 2015 study from the University of Manitoba tested dome versus A-frame thermal efficiency. The dome had 23% less nighttime heat loss per cubic meter. That's not marginal. That's exponential savings if you scale it up. Sometimes skeptics argue domes cost more to build. True, but that's like comparing a violin to a bucket. One produces resonance. The dome is an instrument tuned to the sun. Heat refracts across it. Light dances inside it. I remember standing in mine one evening as frost formed outside. The air shimmered golden, every beam converging onto the soil bed. You could smell the sweet humidity rising, earthy, vegetal, alive. The sound of condensed droplets ticking from the glass ribs created this pulse, like the place itself was breathing. In that moment, it didn't feel like technology. It felt alive. Still, numbers matter. Here's what the Week 2 data showed. Average daytime high inside dome, 26.4 degrees Celsius. Gothic arch, 23.1 degrees Celsius. A-frame, 20.8 degrees Celsius. Earth shelter, 22.6 degrees Celsius steady. At night, the dome held roughly 5 to 6 degrees Celsius more warmth than the A-frame. The earth shelter, 7 degrees Celsius more. But when I compared energy retention per surface area, how much warmth each square meter of glass retained, the earth-sheltered greenhouse won outright. It wasn't about insulation. It was about inertia. Thermal inertia. The soil's resistance to change. Think of it as nature's slow heartbeat, absorbing heat by day, pulsing it back by night. So, let's talk about building one of these heat traps yourself. Not as a fantasy, but as something you can walk inside within weeks. You can choose either design, the geodesic dome for light collection, or the earth-sheltered half-pit for temperature stability. Each has its strengths. For most homegrowers, a 4-meter-wide dome or a 2-meter-deep pit greenhouse works beautifully. Materials? Start with what you have. Clear polycarbonate panels or recycled windows, around $150 for small builds. Wooden or metal frame supports, roughly $100 to $200. Optional thermal mass, 6 to 8 standard bricks lined along inner walls, or black water barrels filled and stacked to catch sunlight during the day. A soil floor, not concrete. Soil breathes, stores humidity, and conducts heat. Here's the rhythm you follow. 1. Face it south if you're in the northern hemisphere, north if you're south of the equator. That maximizes winter light. 2. Slope the roof around 35 to 45 degrees. That matches the average solar angle between November and February for most temperate regions. 3. Seal edges tightly but leave a vent near the apex. This keeps condensation from suffocating plants while retaining warmer air layers. 4. Add thermal mass, bricks, stones, or water drums, along the back wall. One trick most people miss. Paint one inner wall matte black. It becomes a heat sink by day and radiates gently at night. Don't make it glossy or metallic. You'll lose reflection and gain glare. The two biggest mistakes people make? First, they use thin plastic sheeting. It's tempting because it's cheap, but it leaks heat faster than you think. A twin-wall polycarbonate performs almost twice as well and lasts years longer. That's worth every dollar. Second, they overventilate. Yes, airflow prevents fungus. But if you leave vents wide open at dusk, your warmth vanishes. Manage air like money. Spend it carefully. Advanced growers often add passive ground tubes. A simple setup, run 10-centimeter PVC pipes about a meter underground from outside to inside the greenhouse. As cool air enters, it picks up ground warmth, entering the space preheated. No fan required if you design the slope right. I'll reveal a clever modification in a moment that made my dome self-regulating. But remember this, geometry alone already cuts your heating loss by a quarter. When I installed the earth tubes and one final upgrade, translucent thermal curtains that automatically unroll at night, something remarkable happened. Even at -10 outside, Frost never touched a leaf inside. The soil stayed damp, and the air hovered between 5 and 10 degrees Celsius overnight, all unpowered. The dome now behaved like a living organism adjusting to the cold. You can add composting boxes along the back for extra heat. As organic matter breaks down, it releases gentle warmth, roughly the same as a slow, radiant heater. A bin of decomposing straw and manure about 1 cubic meter large can sustain a 15 to 20 degrees Celsius microclimate nearby. That's ancient greenhouse tech, used since Roman hypocausts lined garden walls. And if you want to go further, integrate thermal water barrels connected to a solar coil. Day sunlight warms the water, nightfall releases that stored energy back into the air. Simple physics, powerful results. The first visible change happens within a week. Condensation begins forming only on upper panels, not around your plants, a sign your air layers are separating correctly. In week 2, soil crust cracks begin to disappear because moisture cycles balance out. By week 4, your greens will look unnaturally lush for winter. Broad leaves, deeper color, stronger aroma. Watch for microfilm on the glass. Looks like misty fingerprints. That's not dirt. That's humidity regulation at work. If you see it, your ecosystem is breathing properly. Some panic when the inner temperature dips slightly after 2 weeks. Don't. That's the soil stabilizing thermal load, reaching equilibrium. It's normal, and once it settles, the performance locks in like a stabilized heart rate. 2 months later, I harvested lettuce in the middle of snow season. Steam rose from the soil when I lifted the leaves. The scent, deep and mineral, reminded me of spring mornings I hadn't felt in years. And somewhere between the crunch of a leaf and the warmth on my face, I understood what this experiment really revealed. It wasn't just about which greenhouse shape trapped the most heat. It was about rediscovering how much of nature's intelligence we've paved over with convenience. No dependency. The more I study old agrarian records, the clearer it becomes. Our ancestors engineered sustainability, not from machines, but from observation. They read the curve of the land, the tilt of the sun, the whisper of the seasons. And somehow we replaced that symphony with spreadsheets and fuel lines. But standing inside a handmade dome that holds warmth through frozen nights, you realize self-sufficiency isn't rebellion, it's memory. So build one, test it, share your results. Maybe your dome ends up better than mine. Maybe your pit stays warmer. And if it does, tell me. Tell everyone. Because the more we rebuild this knowledge, the freer we get. Share this with someone who still believes gardening stops when frost arrives. Because soon I'll show you what happens when you combine this geometry with living soil and compost heat. The ultimate off-grid greenhouse engine. Stay curious, stay growing, and keep unearthing what they tried to bury.